What's the guarantee? Eric?
Mike, time to make history. Players in Circa Million make 5 picks against the spread each week with quarterly and full season payouts.
Circa Survivor entries choose one team each week with no point spread. The last one standing wins it all.
We have $21 million on the line. Are you in? Visit circasports.com for details.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The iconic Paul McCartney got back live. A once-in-a-lifetime must-see event. Paul McCartney performing a catalogue of music that's formed the soundtracks of our lives. Casey Centre, October 14th. Get tickets now at highvtix.com.
My bad. I was checking the group chat.
We're ready.
Having a sports movie debate.
Oh, God.
Do you like sports movies?
I do. I enjoy it.
What's your favorite one?
You already know what it is.
No, I don't.
It's Friday Night
Oh,
Lights.
that movie sucks.
I don't know how you say that movie sucks.
It's terrible.
Friday Night Lights.
There's no good football movies. Not a single one.
Blues. Varsity Blues and Friday Night Lights are like the 2 best football movies.
There's not a single good football movie.
I don't know how you can say either one of those are bad.
I just did. They suck.
Yeah.
Here, let me try. With a straight face. Those movies suck.
Now you look like you're making the face that you sent that you sent that with the drink in the group chat and everybody just roasted your ass for.
I wouldn't consider it a roasting.
We had fun with it. Everybody had fun with it.
Yeah.
There were some good faces in there.
I mean, I don't take selfies often. And when I do, I don't typically smile in them.
You look like you had a few beverages in you.
I actually didn't by that point.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that.
I promise. All right. Well, welcome to Bigger Than 12. Whatever this show is, we talk Big 12 football, Big 12 basketball, Big 12 baseball every now and then. I'm your co-host, Jake Brend, joined by my co-host, Derek Duke. Aiden Wyatt is back from his month-long sabbatical.
Feels like a month.
Maybe 2 month long.
It might be longer than that. I know. It was ridiculous. I mean, we were lost without you. Jake tried his best to produce the show. We had a couple hiccups, but I think we kind of got through it. But Aiden, it was not the same here without you. We're so used to you.
I was on sabbatical.
There you go. We're so used to you holding our hand during the show. We didn't have that security blanket we normally have.
Yeah, I'm really glad the show didn't go down in flames. It almost did.
It almost did.
We had a couple close calls, but we're glad Aiden's back, and we're glad you're back as well, listening to Bigger Than 12, as we are a little over 3 weeks away from the start of the college football season. We're almost there, and WealthCharter has helped get us through the summer by being our presenting sponsor. WealthCharter Retirement Planning and Tax now is as good of a time as ever before school gets back in session to go get your finances in check. Tim Hawkins and his team at WealthCharter Retirement Planning and Tax in Ankeny. Go give them your business, and they'll give you some solid, really, really good advice on any sort of financial planning, retirement planning, and help with taxes. Let's start with Coach Prime. We had this in the rundown as maybe something else, and I'm glad it's not that. Deion Sanders held a press conference on Monday with his medical team and announced that he is now cancer-free. He had bladder cancer. We knew that Deion had been going through health struggles, but we didn't know the fine details of it. Definitely really scary, but more importantly, glad that he's okay and glad that he's going to keep coaching. I know it was a massive rumor at one point that was maybe not going to happen.
It was really a weekend full of rumors. In fact, I was hearing things of him stepping down as the head coach due to his health, and there were plenty of people on social media saying the same thing over the last few days. But thankfully, Deion is okay. He's going to remain there in Colorado. And I know some people, obviously, they don't like him, and that's fine. But you never want somebody to have to go through what he did there with the cancer, and I'm just glad he's doing better health-wise. And again, like him or not, Deion, we've said many times before, he's good for the Big 12. He draws eyeballs every single week on TV. He makes national headlines. And prior to his arrival at Colorado, like, you think about it, who was talking about him? Nobody. I mean, there was nobody talking about Colorado football. He put them back on the map. The Big 12 is very lucky to have him in the conference. Like, we really and truly, if you think about it, we need more coaches like that. We need more of those, Deion Sanders, those Mike Gundys, Kyle Whittingham. We need those kind of guys. They aren't afraid to speak their mind. And while I may not always agree with what they have to say, I do respect the fact that they are usually pretty honest with the media. And again, I'm glad he's staying put. I look forward to seeing what his team can do this year after losing so many key pieces from last year's team. So I'm just glad that he's okay and he's going to be back in Boulder.
And it's not just headlines. It's not just clicks. He's had success. Maybe not a ton of success. He hasn't won a national championship, hasn't won much of substance, but he won 9 games last year when, me included, a lot of people tabbed them to go 4-8, 5-7, and they had a really good year. And I think that goes under the radar, and he definitely doesn't get enough credit for that because they were really good. They backed it up last year. And again, I'm excited to see what they're able to do this year. I think it's fair to question, like, how much will this affect his coaching? Not like going forward, but it's clearly been a taxing summer, probably a really taxing offseason altogether. Is he as prepared to go into the season? And I would guess that he's got a really, really good support staff and all that, but it is a legit concern to say that, well, if your head coach hasn't maybe been able to put all of his focus on football in the month of July, that could maybe affect the team during the season. And I hope that's not true, but it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, I hope the same thing. I just hope he's doing better. That's the most important thing, and then we'll kind of focus on the football here in the month of August and heading into the season. But again, they got a lot of work to do in Boulder. So many players to replace Travis Hunter, obviously his son Shador Sanders. So they definitely have their work cut out for them this offseason.
Yep, they'll. I'm guessing they'll have fall camp start next week, next Monday. So good timing for Coach Prime to be healthy and hopefully even more healthy going forward. We will move into our season outlooks. We've got 3 more for you today. We got another Iowa trivia question, and then we'll close with a Big 12 basketball coach draft. I'm excited for that. A little basketball in the dog days of the summer. We'll start with TCU for football. And this is a team that returns their most important player in quarterback Josh Hoover. Set a school record in 2024 with 3,900 yards in his first full season as a starter. But they do lose a lot on the offensive side of the ball. They lose their 3 of their 4 top receivers, Jack Besh, J.P. Richardson, Savion Williams, and Cam Cook as their leading rusher. They bring in some help at receiver and running back. Jordan Dwyer, almost 1,200 yards last year at Idaho. Joseph Manjack from Houston. And Kavarian Barnes from UTSA. So the offense, I already said it, they bring back their most important player. The defense, most of their defense is back as far as starters go. They did lose their leading tackler, linebacker Johnny Hodges, to the NFL. And then they brought in a couple pieces to fill holes on a defense that was decent to end the year. For TCU, my questions lie. We can start on the offensive side of the ball, and it's just, can they run the ball? They were one of the worst teams at running the ball last year, and I'm sure a lot of that helped Josh Hoover have better stats, but maybe hurt them in the long run when it comes to being a balanced team. And I don't really know if they've addressed the answer to that question yet.
Yeah, their offensive line is still very much a work in progress. And you mentioned TCU had one of the worst rushing offenses in the conference last season. I mean, that's got to change for this offense to start firing on all cylinders. I mean, but I will say, you've mentioned Josh Hoover. It really does kind of start with him. I've said many times on this show, he's probably the most underrated quarterback in the Big 12. I think he's a sneaky good play for Big 12 Player of the Year. Set a school record for passing yards, and he had actually the second highest completion percentage in the conference. He's a guy that can sling it all over the yard. Now, they do lose. I'm kind of concerned about some of their receivers as well. They lose their top 3 pass catchers from a year ago. They did bring in a couple guys with Manjack from Houston, Dwyer, I believe, from Idaho, and then McAllister does come back for him. So I do have some concerns at receiver as well, but I will say when you have a quarterback like Josh Hoover, I think he can kind of make up for some of those losses, and we'll see. Hopefully he gets better, makes a little bit better decisions, can bring that completion percentage up even more, and who knows what could happen. But I think he's got the makings of being a top 3 quarterback in this conference.
Yeah, you got right into the receiver question. I don't think that's a massive concern. I do think it's a fair question, though, when Betch is an NFL guy. J.P. Richardson's in the NFL. Savion Williams he had over 900 all-purpose yards last year. He was a receiver that they used quite a bit at running back. So my main concern lies with the running game. And if you look at the stats, they've got 4 running backs that could either rotate carries or compete for carries. And those 4 guys didn't even combine for 1,000 yards last year between the 4 of them. 2 of them were at TCU, or 3 of them were at TCU. The transfer at UTSA was healthy last year for the most part and only had 220 yards after having back-to-back years with over 700. So I don't know what happened there. It's just a question mark. And if they can't be maybe not top half, but they got to be like top 10 to 12 in the conference in rushing yards, or else I just can't really take them too seriously as a contender if they're that one-dimensional in offense.
Well, I will say they put up a bunch of points last season, so they were able to make things work even without a real, I guess, running game, as you would say. But I think it's going to get better. I think this offense really has nowhere to go but up when it comes to running the football. So I do like them to maybe take a step forward this year, just with bringing back a few guys and then also adding really some good depth to the transfer portal.
And as far as the defense goes, they were, fair to say, bad last year, but they closed the season decent. Decent's maybe the right word, decent to good. They allowed 13 or less in 3 of their last 6 games. But I just don't know, is that a byproduct of those games being against Utah, terrible offense, Cincinnati, below average offense last year, Oklahoma State, bad offense last year, or did they actually take a step forward? And that I do think is where most of their season will make or break. It's on the defensive side of the ball.
It's probably a little bit of both. They're playing some bad offenses, but I think they're also playing better. I mean, they do return 5 starters, and it's a defense. If you look from the year before, from 23 to 24, they actually did make a jump up in most of their important categories, at least. But I don't know. I think the defense was playing better. It's still definitely not where it could have been last year. I think the secondary is one to circle here with Bud Clark and Jamel Johnson. I think that duo in the back end is going to be really good. They have a set of really good linebackers, and they have some young guys up front. I think this defense, though, overall, I think it can improve from last season. And, you know, I've read many places talking about TCU. They're saying that this could be the best defense they've had on paper since Sonny Dykes has actually been there. So now it's just time to go out there and show it.
Yeah, I know Dykes likes the defense. They brought in Washington State's sack leader from last year to be paired with a couple guys who were already pretty good on the defensive line. So it looks like they've got the pieces really at all 3 levels of the defense to be solid. It's one of those things where it's got to be proven to me first before I completely buy into it. Because if you want to say that their defense did take a step forward last year, they still let SMU hang 66 points on them. They still were giving it in the mid-30s for a lot of games last season, and they did get better over the course of the year. There's no doubt. So we'll see if they build off of that. I think them and our next team that we'll discuss maybe have the most interesting. What's the line between a success and a disappointment? Because it could have major implications on job security. What do you set that line at?
Well, I'll start by saying I like the offense with Hoover, and I think the defense is going to improve. Like I've said before, I think TCU can be a dark horse Big 12 title contender, but the problem is it's going to be really hard to sneak up on people with that schedule of theirs. Like I think you can make a case that they have the toughest schedule in the conference. So when I look at that, I think 8 wins honestly would be considered a good season given the schedule. Anything over that, I would say would probably be icing on the cake for TCU. However, if they go like 7-5 or 6-6, then I think those talks of Sonny Dykes being fired are going to heat up.
There's a shot they don't want a road game. If you look at their schedule, at North Carolina, who knows what they're going to look like. I would probably pick TCU in that game right now.
Yeah.
But then they go at ASU, at Kansas State, at West Virginia. Nobody likes a trip to Morgantown. At BYU, at Houston. Like that.
Well,
that is
they could
brutal.
win 3 of those. I think you can make a case that they win those last 3 road games.
Oh, easily. I think you could make that case, but is there a world where, I mean, SMU destroyed them last year. They could lose. They could start 1-3 that season, and
that's possible.
Who knows?
They got off to a rough start last year.
Bloom and I were talking about this on Williams and Bloom on Sunday. I'm like, that. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but there's an outside shot that Sonny Dykes doesn't even coach against Iowa State if things go the wrong way.
I'm not going to go that far. I look at that schedule. I look at North Carolina win, Abilene Christian win. I could think they could beat Colorado at home. That's a win. I think they'd beat West Virginia. I'd put them over BYU. I'd put them over Houston. I'd put them over Cincinnati.
Well, those games happened before the Iowa State game. I'm
that's
saying,
fair.
like, is there a world where
No.
they start 2-4? I think
Not
there's a
at
world
TCU.
where they start 2-4.
That could happen. I'm not saying that can't happen. I mean, last season they struggled out of the gate. They were pretty in rough shape last year. Remember when UCF came in, knocked them off, I believe, opening weekend for the conference?
I bought my UCF stock that weekend.
Yeah. It can happen. There's no doubt about it. But as we saw as the year went on, TCU they were a completely different team at the back end of that schedule than they were in the front end. So I don't think Sonny Dykes is going to get fired anytime before the season ends.
No. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it was something that we discussed as a possibility when we were picking our point spreads ahead of the season for all 12 Iowa State games. You
could also make a case they go 3-0. I mean, we don't know what SMU looks like either, so they could go 3-0 in non-conference play.
Yeah, and that's where I'm going to say. I'm going to set my line right around 8-2, and I think they hit that. I'm a believer in TCU, Josh Hoover, and I think they've just had 2 really, really weird years since playing in the national championship game, and they're due for a bounce back. And I do like the pieces that they have on the defensive side of the ball. And I also like there's a bit of pressure on Sonny Dykes. I think he knows that he's going to need a pretty good year, and I think they'll get it. So that, for me, that's all just hypothetical talk. But if there's a coach that's prime for a midseason canning, if they have a disaster, it's probably Sonny Dykes, Mike Gundy, and maybe Dave Aranda if things get way off the rails. But
Scott Satterfield.
Yeah, Scott too. They'll probably give him the year if things go bad. We'll move on to Texas Tech in just a second. First, I would like to thank Freedom Tire. I am due for an oil change. I'll be hitting up Freedom Tire in the next couple weeks. They've got locations in Ames, Altoona, Des Moines, West Des Moines, Urbandale. We are traveling season soon. Like it is coming up. Whether it's a weekly drive to Ames, heading out to Cincinnati, Jonesboro, Arkansas, if you're an Iowa State fan, or if you're an Iowa fan that's listening, you'll have a lot of drivable road trips as well. Always make sure to keep your car in check, and Freedom Tire is the best place to do that. Texas Tech. Is this going to get contentious?
Possibly. I'll leave it at that.
Look at that man. Joey McGuire. Joey McGuire, my boy Joey. Man, do they have the most interesting year in the Big 12 coming up. I am going to be glued to the TV any week that they play. I just can't wait. Texas Tech, they return their quarterback, Baron Morton. Had a good year last year. Probably flew under the radar. They also return two of their top three receivers, Caleb Douglas and Coy Eakin, both over 650 yards, but they lose the program's all-time leading rusher, Taj Brooks. They also lose their leading receiver, Josh Kelly, and one of their really good tight ends, Jalen Conyers. But this offseason hasn't been about what Texas Tech lost. It's been about what they brought in. They bring in three expensive, big-time offensive linemen to bolster what was already a pretty good unit. They also bring in wide receiver Reggie Virgil, over 800 yards last year at Miami of Ohio, and they bring in USC's running back Quentin Joyner, almost 500 yards in 2024. On paper, that is a really, really, really good offense. On defense, they bring back their big-time linebacker Jacob Rodriguez and one of his counterparts, Ben Roberts. And then they bring in four-star transfers by On3 Sports on the defensive line. Lee Hunter, UCF, Skylar Gill-Howard of NIU on the inside, Romello Height, and David Bailey on the outside. And then 5 transfers come in to bolster the secondary with a couple returners. I'm not going to go over all their names. Point is, they bring in a lot of talent, and it costed them a lot of money. So, where should we start? Is run game probably the number one thing to talk about? Not that I'm not a believer in Joyner. I'm sure he'll be good. I don't know if he'll be Taj Brooks good right away.
Yeah, losing that bell cow back in Taj Brooks that you just he's like an old reliable pickup truck. Like you've been able to rely on him every single year, get you 5 yards almost a carry, in some cases more than that. So losing him does hurt, but it's going to be a running back by committee. That's what it's going to be in Lubbock. And I think it's going to be okay, most importantly, as long as their quarterback, Baron Morton, stays healthy. They do bring back, I think, 2 starters up front, and then they filled the rest in the transfer portal, which, by the way, like even on both sides of the ball, I know we're talking offense here, but I really like what they did in the trenches on both sides of the ball. They realized they had a weakness in that area. They wanted to get tougher, and they went out and got it. So I do like that. They have a new offensive coordinator, Mac Leftwich, which I like coming in from Texas State. But just looking at the offense as a whole, you mentioned Baron Morton, very underrated year, flew under the radar, had a career year there in Lubbock. Statistically, I think he was a top 5 quarterback in the conference last season. So I do like that. Coy Eakin and Caleb Douglas at receiver. Micah Hudson, the former 5-star wide receiver who was at Texas Tech, left, went to A&M. He's now back in the fold at Tech. So I do like him. You mentioned Reggie Virgil as well from Miami, Ohio. So I do like the pieces that they have in this offense. But yeah, the running game, when you lose a guy like Taj Brooks, it's going to hurt a little bit. So they're probably going to have to make some adjustments and just, maybe ride the hot hand throughout the season.
Sticking with the offense, I agree. I think the running game will be fine. It might not be near the top of the conference, but I don't really think they necessarily need it to be. My other question just lies in Baron Morton, both in is he elite and is he healthy? Because I'm still of the belief in most scenarios you're going to need a quarterback that's going to be really good to elite, especially in the Big 12 this year when there are so many good quarterbacks in this conference. And I don't know where I would put Morton, probably in that 7 to 10 range, which is good. It's not like you're rolling out Alan Bowman, but I'm taking Hoover, I'm taking Rocco, Levitt, Avery Johnson, Sawyer Robertson, That's just 5 guys immediately that I'm taking over Morton. And the other question is health, and it's fair to assume because he pretty much gets hurt every single year, at least once. And Will Hammond, he was a really dynamic, really sought-after freshman, came in and had some glimpses, but if Morton goes down, you're relying on this redshirt freshman to fill those shoes. And I'm a little confused. I don't know. What's stopping them from going and spending $1 million on Retzlaff to go be your backup quarterback?
Oh, come on. Jake Retzlaff's not better than Baron Morton.
No, to be your backup, I'm saying. Your insurance policy.
This is Jake Retzlaff's last season. He's like a redshirt senior. He's not going to come in to be a backup anywhere. I don't think there was really an amount of money that was going to get him to be a backup somewhere.
That's fair. But it doesn't have to be Retzlaff. I feel like they could have done something for an insurance policy. That worries me if I'm a Tech fan. And I know that's a justified worry at every school. Every school worries, what if we lose our quarterback? But not every school has gone all in and pushed all of their chips all in like Texas Tech has.
Well, they got faith in the guys they got. Nothing wrong with that.
They do. I don't know if I do.
Well, they've had probably the worst quarterback luck injury-wise in the Big 12 in like the last 4 or 5 years. Every single year they have to play at least like 3 or 4 quarterbacks.
All right, I'll get into my Tech concerns. We'll just answer one more question, and I think it's something we see happen a lot in college football, and it's just meshing a bunch of transfers. And I think that'll mostly come into play on defense. I like what they did as far as they brought in some good receivers, but the bulk of their money that they spent was in the trenches, and I like that. I like that for them. But it's still integrating probably 6 or 7 new starters, and that I think no matter how talented or how good or how expensive those starters are or how good of a coach you are, it's a challenge, and I think it's a fair concern to see how they gel early on in the season and then over the course of the year.
Yeah, and they also brought in a new defensive coordinator in Sheil Wood, so they do have a new offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator. Speaking of their defense, I really like their linebacker duo, Jacob Rodriguez and Ben Roberts. I think that duo right there could be maybe the best in the Big 12. They beefed up their defensive line with a bunch of transfers. I like that because pass rush is what was missing from this defense last season. I think they went out and addressed that, loaded up on transfers in the back end as well. So overall, I like what they did with this defense. Like Tech has had a defensive problem for years, maybe a decade plus now of defensive problems going back to Cliff, even Tommy Tuberville days. So they bought a hell of a defense. That's exactly what they did. So we're going to see if that defensive line of theirs that they spent a ton of money on is going to be a big difference maker.
Is it going to be enough? The expectations have never been higher in Lubbock. The pressure's never been higher. I think the only team in the conference that we can set a line on that says a success, you have to make the Big 12 championship or it's a bust, it's Texas Tech. And I don't think they're going to do it. I would bet against it. I'm confident in saying that I think it's more likely that they'll finish 8th place than 1st place. That is my final bold take on Texas Tech.
Yeah, it's boom or bust. There's no in between. They spent a ton of money, more than anybody else in the conference. They were one of the biggest spenders in college football. But I've said Joey McGuire has been slowly building this program up, and Cody Campbell's money is going to try to accelerate that build. So it's either Arlington or bust for Tech this season. And even maybe to some, even just getting to Jerry World may not be enough for some people.
Yeah.
They're Big 12 title contenders on paper, so some people are going to expect Texas Tech to win the Big 12 this season. But again, we'll see what happens. I like the start of their schedule. I mean, I think you can make a strong case that they probably go, 5 or 6-0 before they meet Arizona State?
Yeah.
On October 18th. Just with the way the schedule kind of rolls out there, it's going to get a little tougher. But when I look at that schedule, I think it's a very, very favorable schedule. I look at that schedule and I see 10 wins. That's me, though.
I could very well see 10 wins as well. The problem is, if you win 10 wins and your losses come to Arizona State and K-State, with the way the tiebreakers work, you probably aren't getting to Arlington.
There's a chance you can miss
that. Is what I'm rooting for. Not because I'm a Texas Tech hater. Like, I know I've gotten, just look at the Williams and Bloom comment section from Sunday. I've gotten some hate from Texas Tech fans, and I don't intend to hate Texas Tech. I actually really like their fan base. But my number one outcome is them going 10-2 and missing the Big 12 championship and seeing what that chaos is like. Because 10-2 would easily be the best season that they've had in a long time. The best season they've had since Mike Leach was there. And it would still probably be considered a disappointment. And they probably won't be favored in those two games either. So, on paper, yeah, they should go 10-2. I just think 8-4 is probably more likely than 11-1 in my eyes.
I don't know. I'm going to stick with 10-2. But even, I will say this, even if they do go 10-2, you said there's a chance they miss out. There's still a chance they can go in. I mean, Arizona State's schedule is not that easy.
No.
Kansas State's schedule isn't too friendly either. I think they got a pretty good break here with Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech has a very favorable one compared to others in the conference.
Yeah, and we'll probably, maybe we should dedicate a segment before the season starts into just looking over the tiebreakers and seeing what's important. But from what I remember last year, it's almost better to lose to a worse team than it is a good team, which I feel like is backwards.
Well, it's because of head-to-head.
I know, it is because of head-to-head. But when it comes to like the round robins and all that stuff too, we're not talking tiebreakers in the middle of July. That's my bad. Sorry, Texas Tech fans.
We'd spend here all day talking tiebreakers in the Big 12.
It is good for the Big 12 if Texas Tech performs well.
Yes.
Because
they're going to be a national story all year long.
They've got the dogs to go head-to-head with the SEC. Not saying they can win a national championship or anything like that. I think that's even unfair expectations for the amount of money they spent. But they are expected to represent the Big 12, and they're expected to do it well. And if they don't, that'll be a bad look for the conference, and the conference needs every single positive that they can get. So it'll be good for this podcast. It'll be good for the podcast, or for this podcast and the conference, if the Red Raiders perform.
True.
All right, we'll get into our last one in just a sec, but I'd like to thank our new sponsor, Carbless.
Whoa.
You ever had a Carbless?
I have not. I need to figure out if they sell that down here in Texas. I don't know if
it's actually my favorite seltzer.
Really?
I'm not just saying this because they're a sponsor now. Seltzers I think are awesome on a boat. That's where I will typically drink them, or just on a hot day in the summer. They make a good hair of the dog drink. I think they're a seltzer. They're supposed to be easier on your stomach. So Carbless, they've got so many good flavors. Cranberry is my favorite. Go and get it, at least in Iowa and in central Iowa.
Okay.
I know they sell them every liquor store, every gas station. So go and get yourself some. The weather is scorching hot. It's getting a little better, but if you're going outside, there is not much better than just enjoying a nice seltzer or two, and Carbless should be your seltzer of choice. Thanks for their support of Bigger Than 12, and we're excited to work with them more going forward into the football season. Let's close out with UCF. Talk about a polar opposite from TCU and Texas Tech. Scott Frost is back. Welcome back, Scotty. Scotty the Frost Man. He's got an uphill climb, to say the least. The good news is he lost his top running back, R.J. Harvey. He also lost Kobe Hudson, Xavier Townsend, Randy Pittman. Lost quite a bit of the offensive line. And brought back one of the worst quarterbacks in the Big 12 last year. So he's off to a good start. I'm joking. It's a rebuild, and I think Frost is in a pretty good spot that enjoys him and likes his company. So I think they'll be patient with him. But I just read off all they lost. They do bring back their second best running back, Miles Montgomery, that definitely had some moments last year. They bring in 2 quarterbacks, Taven Jackson, Indiana's backup, and Cam Fancher. He was a 3-year starter, 2 years at Marshall, 1 at FAU. A little over 1,500 yards passing, almost 60% completion percentage last year. They bring in a trio of receivers, and then I think probably their best transfer portal addition is Dylan Wade, Maryland's tight end, almost 400 yards last year in 2024. And then they just bring in a boatload of transfers on the offensive line. They've got about 4 starters, maybe 5 starters back on the defense. Won't get into specifics on that. Their defense was not great last year, and they're pretty much starting fresh in 2025. I think the biggest question for them is just the quarterback battle. You've got Ja'Cory Brown. He started the Iowa State game last year. Not much of a thrower. Really dynamic and athletic quarterback, though. Taven Jackson, the Indiana backup, and Cam Fancher, the 3-year starter. Looks like it's Taven Jackson's job to lose from everything that I'd been reading out of Orlando. But at this point, I'm probably putting their quarterback battle like 14th, 15th, 16th in the Big 12. Like it is not high up there in the conference.
I look at this offense and it is just one massive overhaul. Reminds me a lot of Oklahoma State when we were doing our Oklahoma State outlooks. All their pass catchers are gone from last season. The offensive line is brand new. You've got a quarterback battle that you don't really know who the guy's going to be. So I'm not expecting much from this offense this season. New coaching staff, new players, everything's going to be brand new. It's going to be safe to say this is going to be one of the worst offenses in the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, and it's not as fun to talk about them as it is Oklahoma State because there really isn't any pressure year one. Mm-mm. Like I know we're in this era of college football where you can turn things around, and we just saw it with Cignetti at Indiana, and we've seen a lot of examples of it. But at the same time, Scott Frost isn't going anywhere if they go 2-10 this year. So it's not great analysis, but it's pretty much just a brand new team, and it's not going to be a very good team, especially when you lose R.J. Harvey, who I think is going to have a really good year as a rookie on the Denver Broncos. He was probably the most underrated running back in the conference last year, and replacing him is going to be really, really, really difficult. And based off of what I've read about the Indiana kid and at least some of the stats from the FAU starter in Cam Fancher, I think the quarterback battle should be a little bit better than KJ Jefferson last year, but
can't be any worse.
Yeah, it can't be any worse. So I apologize if you were looking for like great analysis on UCF, but this is kind of a wait and see. And I mean, I think if they can win 5 or 6 games, that's a success for year one.
Yeah, and then you look at the defensive side of the ball, it's not any better.
Yeah, like
it's not any better.
You bring back a couple nice pieces on defense, 4 or 5 starters, but it's a total overhaul. And Frost has done it there before, but it was a different time. It was in a different conference, different era, and he's going to have to do it again. And I think that they'll be patient with him. I think he's beloved there in Orlando, and if they can build any sort of positive momentum in year one, they're kind of in a similar spot to Houston last year, where there's no pressure. You're not really going to have the national spotlight on you really at all. Maybe a little bit more than Houston just because Scott Frost is such a personality. But I think they'll just float around the bottom of the Big 12 all year, and who knows if they can pick up one win or one big win or string a couple together, they could get some momentum going into 2026. And their schedule, that's not the worst, but it's not an easy road schedule either with Cincy, K-State, Baylor, Tech, BYU. But their home schedule is very doable. That you can make an argument they could easily win 3 of those conference home games.
Oh, boy. I see this schedule, and it's just I think they're going to win their first 2. I think that one against Jacksonville State's going to be pretty interesting. I think that's going to be more of a test than what people think. So that
guess who their running back is?
I don't know.
Cam Cook, TCU last year.
Really? Okay.
Yep, that's where he transferred.
Okay, so there you go. I think they're going to probably start 2-0, but then after that, they're not beating North Carolina. They're not beating Kansas State. They're not beating Kansas. They're not beating Cincinnati on the road. They maybe could give West Virginia a little run for their money there. That could be a game to watch to win. Playing Houston at home, another one, and then you get Oklahoma State at home as well. So there's a chance for possibly 2 wins in conference play here, maybe a third. So never say never.
I think they're in a good spot because there isn't really a disappointment unless I think 1 or 2 wins is probably a disappointment, but anything more than that, I'm sure no matter what stage you are as a fan, you're never happy with 3 or 4 wins, but we won't view anything as a total disaster.
No. I think if you get under 4 wins, I think if you're 3-9, I would say that's a bad year for this team.
All right, well, that's UCF. Scott Frost, welcome back. We're glad to have you. I guess welcome. Welcome to the Big 12.
Yep.
We'd also like to thank our sponsor of the month, Circus Sports Iowa. Go and bet against Scott Frost, their win total. I probably should have wrote it. I think it's 4.5, 5.5. I would take the under. If you agree, go to Circus Sports Iowa, or if you're in Illinois, Circus Sports Illinois. But more importantly, you should book a flight right now. Go out to Vegas, enter yourself in the Circa Survivor or the Circa Millions. Just look at that on the screen. So much money to be made out there. So much money to win. Of course, do it responsibly. But you do have to enter in Nevada. You got to go to Circa and do that. And I say that as you have to go. You get to go to Circa. I have to go to Circa. I want to go so bad. I need to go in person.
One of us is going to be there in a couple weeks, and it's not me.
What? I'm going?
Nope.
Aiden's going?
am the lucky winner.
It's Aiden.
Oh, you're going during Ireland, right?
Yep, I'll be there week 0.
You're going to have to enter me into millions. Remind me.
I'll do my best.
We should do a bigger than 12 millions or Survivor team.
That'd be pretty
What do you think would be easier, Survivor or Millions?
Probably Survivor, right?
People say Millions is easier.
To do it as a group?
Just in general, I think.
Yeah, I think Millions is easier, but I'm trying to think logistically what's the best content. Is it us arguing about like one team?
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Might have
They
to
both
figure
be
that
good.
one off.
You should go do both.
Yeah.
Figure that one out off air, maybe.
Well, Aid, now that you're here, we might as well just jump right into the Iowa trivia question.
Alrighty, Derek. Oops, that is not
There
it.
we
Still
go.
sign up for Circa, though. All right. What is the name of this Iowa town?
Oh.
Spell it for the folks at home.
So we're back on this now, huh? So, okay,
Yep.
so it's
Yeah.
it's Sigourney.
Kenzo's going to kill you if you get this
Yep.
wrong.
A lot on the line.
Murder
here.
you.
Is that, I'm assuming that's her hometown?
Near.
It's her neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Not quite her hometown, but
I'm not
It's her metropolitan area that she's near.
It's a pretty good metro there. They got a subway. I mean, it's a pretty big town.
Bleep that out, Aiden. They're not a sponsor.
That's true. Oh gosh. God, I'm so bad at this. So it's not Sigourney, Iowa. I don't know.
Wow, you got it right.
Is that right? Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
I'm not even gonna
it
say it
is.
again because I don't know if I can
Nice.
say it again correctly. So I'm gonna say it.
Bonus points if you
I'll
can
reverse that like that.
nail their high school mascot. Just kidding. That's very problematic. I would not do that.
Is
We'll Google it off air.
it bad? Is it bad?
Yeah, it's bad. We don't want to get in trouble. Friend of the program. What?
I think I remember the story.
Oh.
I think I heard this story before.
Oh,
so
probably
I
from
know
Kenzo.
exactly.
Kenzo of Overthinking.
Maybe so.
Tuesdays on Iowa everywhere. I can't wait to listen to Overthinking this week.
I got the town right, dude. I got it right. So
that was impressive. Good work.
There you go.
Sipker, I haven't listened to Overthinking yet. I'm going to do it either tonight or tomorrow, but Sipker texted me about his bike getting stolen, so I'm not sure if that made the show, but that's about the most Overthinking content that I've ever heard. So I got to hear
a bike?
Yeah, his bike got stolen. His girlfriend's bike got stolen that he was riding.
And when you say bike, it's not like a motorcycle. You're talking about an actual pedal bike.
Yeah, like a bicycle.
Okay.
Way off topic, but yeah. Check out Overthinking here on Iowa everywhere. We're going to finish out with another Big 12 Coaches Draft brought to you by Whiskey River. I'm going to go watch the Cubs there Wednesday 1:20 against the Brewers. Aiden, you in? You got any work in the afternoon?
No, I might just take the day off. I'm getting kind of used to not working during the week now.
Yeah, let's do it.
Sabbatical. So.
Guy leaves for 1 week and he thinks he can just take off any day he wants.
Whiskey River, locations Ames on Main Street, Ankeny over in the Prairie Trail District. Walking distance for Aiden, actually.
Whoa.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
He should be producing the show from Whiskey River right now.
Aiden, why don't you do that? You should do that.
I could.
Produce the show from Whiskey River.
Well, this draft is brought to you by Whiskey River, and Aiden's going to flip a coin for us.
Before, we have a nice little pre-roll to see what you're missing out on at Whiskey River.
Ooh.
Looking for a good time? Thought so. Whiskey River is just the place. We've got the booze, the food, the vibe, and the amazing rooftop patio. The only thing missing is you. Whiskey River.
Looking for a good time?
I always love that.
Aiden's got our coin toss.
We're once again going with Sally Ride. Let's see. Jake, you call it in the air.
Tails.
It is heads.
Oh. Jake, I'm going to let you pick first.
Okay. Why'd you do that to me? I had a really hard time with this draft. Can we share our criteria before? I'm curious what yours is.
I'm just picking the coaches that I think are the best. That's pretty much my criteria.
Okay. So I was going back and forth between, do I want, like, who is the best coach pedigree-wise, or who do I want, like, if I was hiring them today, going forward, who would I want to hire? And I decided on just pedigree. And when it comes to pedigree, there's no one that comes close to touching Bill Self. He is not only, when it comes to that, the best coach in the conference, he's the best coach in America. With Roy Williams and Coach K and Jay Wright, with all those guys retired, no one touches Bill Self. I think if I've got a nitpick with Self, he hasn't done great in the NIL transfer portal era, but he also won a national championship 3 seasons ago. Bill is the man. I love Bill Self, and I think most of the country now respects Bill Self after all these years.
I thought you were going to go Sampson at 1. I really did.
See, so if I was going off of, like, who am I hiring today to be the best coach going forward, I would pick Sampson. But when I put all things together, I think it's Bill.
That's fine. You can have that train wreck because it's just going to keep getting worse for him. I'm going to go, I'm going Sampson with my pick. I think he is right now the cream of the crop in the Big 12. Houston is the new Kansas in this conference. Kelvin Sampson is the best coach in the Big 12 right now. I don't think, like you mentioned, if you're starting a team right now and you want to win right now, that is your guy to start your program and get it kick-started. So I'm going to go Sampson with 1.
Good pick.
And I could see Sampson. It's a 1A, 1B. It's a very close decision for me. My second one here, I'm going to go Scott Drew from Baylor. national championship head coach. Sampson does not have one, so I think it's important for me to at least get a guy on there with the title under his belt. Things haven't gone the best since they won that title. I still think he's an elite head coach. I think he could probably go out there and get any job he wanted to. Still at Baylor, new arena there in Waco, so I still like what he's doing. We'll see how it goes this year for Baylor, but Scott Drew, you still got to pay your respects to the man. He's still a hell of a head coach.
Yes, Drew's another guy where things get mixed up when I'm going pedigree versus who I want going forward, because they're also a school that hasn't done great in the portal era. But when it comes to pedigree, Drew is no doubt top 3 because he's got a national title, and what he's done at Baylor is incredible. Those 2 picks made it pretty easy for me because my second and third picks are guys that I think are really, really similar and heading in the same direction. I'll go with TJ Alzberger for my second pick, 4th overall. What he's done in his 4 years now at Iowa State, it's the best start in school history. He has one of the best coaching accomplishments of the century and taking a winless team in Big 12 play to the Sweet 16 the next year. And he's just built a top 10, top 15 program at Iowa State. I don't know how you argue him not being in the top 5. And another guy that is in really the same territory as him is Grant McCasland at Texas Tech. If you look at those 2 tenures, they're pretty similar. I think McCasland's had some higher highs and lower lows so far, but these are both just 2 really, really good basketball coaches, great roster builders, and they are going to be forces in the Big 12 going forward.
Those would have been my next 2 picks, so I actually agree with you there. I'm going to go Tommy Lloyd from Arizona. I think he would be my next pick. He's done a pretty good job rebuilding that Arizona program. If you really think about it, you go back to the 90s. Like, Arizona was a power at one point. I don't think they're still quite there yet. They're still getting better under Lloyd. He's led them under 3 Sweet 16 appearances, I believe it was. He's been at the tournament every single year with the Wildcats. So I think he definitely belongs in this top 5 or top 6 conversation for me. Man, this is where things kind of start getting tough for me here. I am going to go with... I'm going to take a shot in the dark here. I'm going to take Kevin Young from BYU.
Dang it.
I think, obviously, still new as a head coach, plenty of years at the NBA level. But what he did last year with BYU was incredible. At one time, they were probably the hottest team in the Big 12. I really thought they could make a Final Four run last season, but they ended up getting to the Sweet 16, which is that's still quite an accomplishment in year 1 to get your team to the Sweet 16. So I'm going to take Kevin Young from BYU.
List just with Self and Sampson flipped. Because I think this is where it gets really tough. I had Kevin Young as my hard cutoff as really good coaches in the conference, because after that I think it falls to good to average. And with that, I'll go Jamie Dixon. He is about as, I think, decent of a coach that there is. I think that's how I would describe what he's done at TCU. He's made a lot of tournaments. He has probably been their best coach ever, but it's not like he's made TCU nationally relevant. He's had some really good years. I don't think he's the greatest in-game coach. I think he's a good program builder. And then this next one is tough because I don't really want to take him, but I feel like I don't really have a choice. Jerome Tang.
Ooh, okay.
Made an Elite Eight.
He did?
Yeah, he made an Elite Eight. Jerome Tang, my next pick.
That's all you're going to say for Jerome Tang? You're not going to say anything else?
I don't think there's much else to say. Is that fair?
I guess that's up to you.
I'll just leave it at Jerome Tang. I think you can just say Jerome Tang and everybody knows what you mean.
That's fair. I'll give you that. We've talked plenty about Jerome Tang during basketball season. I'll give you that.
I don't want to justify my pick. because I think it's the right pick. I just don't want to.
You don't want to talk good about him. I understand. What
Yeah, there you go.
I get it. Yeah, you talk about hard cutoff. We are getting there for sure. Boy. I think I'm going to go. I don't feel great about it. I'm going to go Wes Miller from Cincinnati.
Okay.
I think I picked him last season for like Big 12 Coach of the Year. That ended up.
What? Like
I
before
can't
the
remember.
year?
Maybe it was like, I don't know. I think I was high on Cincinnati. I can't remember where I put him in my preseason poll for the Big 12, but I picked Cincinnati like have a pretty good year, and things really did not go that great for Cincinnati, but I'm still going to take him. He did what? He made the CBC? I don't even know what the hell that is last year. But no, they really weren't a huge factor in the Big 12. They did have, he's got 2 winning records there at Cincinnati, but that's another program that has a lot of basketball history and tradition over the years, and still trying to find that way, still trying to build that program up. I'm going to go Wes Miller. Oh, boy. Kind of battling between 2 here. I'm going to take a flyer here. I'm going to go Ross Hodge from West Virginia.
Dang it.
Did a great job over at North Texas. Had a couple, he finished second, I think it was last season, or third there in the American Athletic Conference at North Texas, now at West Virginia. So we'll see what he can do with this West Virginia program. Obviously some big shoes to fill, but West Virginia, good basketball school, can be a really, really fun environment there in Morgantown. So I'm going to take Ross Hodge there at West Virginia.
Yeah, I think if you're just looking at a coach to buy stock in going forward, I think Hodge is the best of the new guys. Another guy that I think is going to be pretty good, I just don't necessarily know if it's going to be at his current school, is Steve Lutz. I think he did some good things at Western Kentucky and honestly made quite a bit of strides year 1 at Oklahoma State. I just think that's a really hard spot to win. I think he will get them back to some sort of relevance and most likely jump ship, if I had to guess. But I'll take a flyer on Steve Lutz. And then the next guy is the opposite of a flyer. He has been there a really long time and has had sustained mediocrity, and that is Tad Boyle at Colorado. He's made, I believe, 7 tournament appearances in 15 years now. Just a solid coach, nothing too great. He did make a Final Four, I believe. Or no, he did not make a Final Four. He has never made a Final Four. I was looking at the NIT. He's made an NIT Final Four. He's never made it to the Sweet 16. Fine coach. We're really just scraping the bottom of the barrel, though, right now.
Yeah, I can see that here. I guess I got to take Bobby Hurley from Arizona State here. I don't like that pick, but I'm going to stick with that pick, I guess. He's been there for, 10 years now? Something like that. Is that correct?
He's been there a long time.
He's been there a long time.
I don't know if it's quite a decade yet, but
I think we're getting, let's see here, 20. Yeah, I think this is going to be the 10th year.
Wow.
Obviously, things haven't been great as of late. He did have a couple tournament appearances earlier on in his coaching career there, but I don't know. I don't like where that program's headed, I'll say that, but I think for an established head coach, he probably is maybe the best of what's left here. So I'll go Bobby Hurley from Arizona State. Do I want to go Dawkins or Jensen here? Jensen hasn't coached a single second at Utah, but I think I'll just take him.
Yeah, I had Johnny Dawkins dead last on my list.
So I think I'll take Alex Jensen at Utah.
Utah's going the similar route as BYU.
BYU, yeah.
NBA assistant.
See if it works.
Yeah, an alum. Johnny Dawkins, I cannot believe that he's still coaching there. I thought last year's team was pretty talented.
Wasn't bad.
Keyshawn Hall, and it was one of the worst coach teams I've ever seen. I'll never forget that game where they came into Hilton Coliseum, and made just the mind-numbing decision to play as fast as you possibly could against Iowa State. And I think they turned the ball over 20 times. It was ridiculous. It was such a poor coaching job. And they rightfully got blown out of the gym. I think Dawkins is the worst coach in the Big 12. And I don't think that's a massive stretch to say at all. So I don't mind my list. I would have liked if you passed on Kevin Young, but I think we both have pretty equal lists. So we'll let the people decide.
Well, you got TJ. People always cater to that. Matt Campbell, TJ, everybody loves that.
Yeah, but I didn't reach for TJ this time.
No, you did not. You did not reach for TJ. I'll give you that one.
I almost took him 1-1. I was that close.
You weren't taking him 1.
No, I know.
I wouldn't even taken him 1.
All right, well, another draft in the books. Aiden, we'll see you at Whiskey River.
There you go.
Derek,
if you're looking for a good time, Whiskey River.
If you're looking for a good time, Derek, book your flight to Des Moines. We'll hit up Whiskey River for the Cubs game.
I won't be there for the Cubs game, but I will be there at some point in the near future.
Yeah, early September.
Yep.
All right, well,
River.
Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Bigger Than 12. One more week of season outlooks. Then we'll have our full Big 12 preview, and then it's Ireland week. Can't wait. Thanks for supporting what we do here, and thanks to WealthCharter Retirement Planning and Tax.